In the spring of 1971, Washington, D.C. was a city divided by race and opportunity, stitched together by highways and neighborhoods where children walked home alone. April 25th started as an ordinary Sunday for the Spinks family. 13-year-old Carol Denise Spinks, a cheerful and responsible girl from Southeast D.C., was sent by her older sister across the Maryland line to a 7-Eleven store to buy groceries. Carol promised she'd be right back, but she never made it home. For 6 days, Carol's family and the community prayed, searched, and waited. Then on May 1st, her body was found lying in tall grass behind St. Elizabeth's Hospital, not far from the northbound lanes of Interstate 295. She had been sexually assaulted and manually strangled, her small shoes missing, as though someone wanted to strip her identity away even in death. That discovery marked the beginning of a nightmare that would span more than a year. The brutal work of a killer the media would soon dub the Freeway Phantom. July 8th, 1971 brought the second strike. 16-year-old Darlenia Denise Johnson vanished as she walked her summer job at the Oxon Hill Recreation Center. 11 days later, her body was found near the same stretch of I-295 where Carol had been discovered. She, too, had been strangled, her death echoing a chilling pattern. The quiet horror settled into the community and into the minds of investigators. Just 3 weeks later, on July 27th, another young girl disappeared. 10-year-old Brenda Faye Crockett. She was abducted near her home, and unlike the earlier victims, witnesses reported hearing her make phone calls from a strange house. One called to her sister, another to her stepfather, her voice shaky and frightened. Heavy footsteps could be heard in the background. She asked, "Did my mother see me?" before the line went dead. Hours later, a motorist discovered her body along U.S. Route 50, the child's feet clean and her small body wrapped in innocence stolen too soon. By this point, the city was no longer just frightened. It was frantic. On October 1st, 1971, 12-year-old Nenomosha Yates disappeared while walking home from a Safeway store in Northeast D.C. Her body was found just 3 hours later along Pennsylvania Avenue in Prince George's County, Maryland, strangled. The green synthetic fibers on her clothing whispering that the same hand had claimed another life. It was after this body was recovered that local newspapers first used the alias Freeway Phantom, cementing the terrifying identity of the killer in the public mind. Then came November 15th, 1971, and the case took a chilling turn. 18-year-old Brenda Denise Woodard, a young woman from Baltimore, was found hours after she was last seen walking home from dinner with a friend. Instead of being left quietly in the grass like the others, her body bore wounds from multiple stabbings, and a coat had been placed over her chest. Inside one pocket, a note, crude, taunting, unnatural, was discovered. "This is tantamount to my insensitivity to people, especially women. I will admit the others when you catch me if you can, a Freeway Phantom." Police handwriting analysts concluded that the note was dictated by the killer and written in Brenda's own script, meaning she was forced to pen the message herself. It was a twisted signature, a mocking challenge. Catch me if you can. Nearly 10 months passed before the Phantom claimed what would become his final confirmed victim. On September 5th, 1972, 17-year-old Diane Denise Williams, a senior at Ballou High School, cooked dinner for her family and then visited her boyfriend's home. She was last seen boarding a bus late at night. Hours later, her body was found beside I-295, her shoes missing, as if the killer took something small to ensure a lasting sense of loss. Semen was found but later assumed unrelated. Another life snuffed out. The police had a pattern. 6 African-American girls and young women, abducted while alone, sexually assaulted or murdered, strangled or stabbed, and left near highway embankments. Every scene whispered a monstrous consistency. Yet despite dozens of detectives, a tip hotline, thousands of leads, no suspect was ever arrested. Over the years, investigators chased suspects with compelling but incomplete connections. One of the more discussed was Robert Askins, a local man whose belongings included women's scarves and documents containing the unusual word tantamount, the same rare word forced into the Woodard note. Searches of his property yielded nothing definitive, and Askins denied involvement until his death in 2010, leaving behind only questions. To this day, the Freeway Phantom remains one of America's most chilling unsolved series of homicides. Modern forensic techniques were unavailable at the time, and much of the physical evidence has since been lost or destroyed, denying families and investigators the tools that might have cracked the case decades ago. For the families of Carol, Darlenia, Brenda, Nenomoshia, Brenda, and Diane, there's been no closure, only a lingering, painful waiting for justice that never came. The highways that saw their last footsteps are now paved over with time and memory. But for many residents of Washington, D.C., the name Freeway Phantom still conjures unease. The memory of a ghostly predator who struck in the shadows of busy roads and vanished without a trace. Even as the city mourned, the fear lingered. Parents clutched their children tightly while walking home from school. Teenagers avoided the usual shortcuts, sticking to well-lit streets. Neighborhoods that had once felt safe became corridors of anxiety. Rumors swirled. Who could this killer be? How could someone strike again and again without leaving a trace? Detectives pored over every scrap of evidence, every witness statement, but the Phantom remained elusive, a specter blending into the everyday noise of Washington, D.C.'s bustling streets. Detectives noted disturbing consistencies in the killings. The victims were all young African-American girls and women, ranging in age from 10 to 18. Each disappeared while alone, often after mundane errands or visiting friends. And yet, each body was found near major highways or less traveled routes. I-295, Pennsylvania Avenue, U.S. Route 50, as if the killer wanted the bodies to be discovered, sending a silent, taunting message to the authorities. Some crime scenes suggested the killer had pre-planned the abductions, waiting for moments when the victims were isolated, ensuring there would be no witnesses. Or, if witnesses did exist, their statements would be fragmented and unreliable. Investigators speculated about the Phantom's psyche. Was he a man of meticulous routine, or did he thrive on chaos and fear? The handwriting in the Woodard note, combined with the taunting phrasing, suggested someone who derived pleasure from control and manipulation. He demanded attention, leaving clues only he could orchestrate. The words "catch me if you can" were not just a message. They were a game, a psychological chess match against the city itself. Local media amplified the fear. Newspapers splashed headlines like "Phantom Stalks DCUs" and "Hunt for Highway Killer Intensifies." Each article added to the tension. Each broadcast a description haunting parents and teens alike. The community was hyper-aware. Every unfamiliar car, every stranger near bus stops became a potential threat. Children were warned repeatedly. Never walk alone. Never take a shortcut. Always tell someone where you are going. But the Phantom was a shadow that ignored warnings. Always patient. Always calculating. Despite the chaos, some leads sparked hope. Witnesses reported seeing unfamiliar men near the areas where girls disappeared. A few described vehicles, an old green or brown car, possibly a station wagon, but these tips led nowhere. One man, Robert Askins, became a person of interest because he had connections to similar vocabulary found in the taunting note. He had a criminal record and disturbing habits, but physical evidence tying him to the murders was non-existent. Police interrogated him multiple times, yet Askins denied involvement. After his death, investigators revisited cold files and evidence, but nothing definitive emerged. The Phantom remained a ghost in the records, a case unsolved and taunting from beyond the grave. Each murder left a profound impact on the families. Carol Spink's parents never stopped searching, replaying memories of her laughter and innocence, haunted by the last sight of their daughter stepping out to buy groceries. Brenda Crockett's siblings recounted the last phone calls, the fearful voice echoing in their minds, forever unhealed. Nenomoshia Yates' disappearance shook her neighborhood to its core, making everyday routines a battlefield of caution and vigilance. The loss was not just personal. It fractured the trust of an entire city, leaving a generation wary of the streets they once called home. Over time, the case inspired law enforcement to reconsider investigation methods. Techniques that are standard today, DNA profiling, forensic fiber analysis, geographic profiling, were unavailable in the early 1970s. The physical evidence that remained, fibers, clothing, witness accounts, was fragmented and limited. As the years passed, memories faded, Files were archived, and the trail grew colder. Yet, the Freeway Phantom's legacy persisted in the hearts of those affected and the minds of true crime enthusiasts. The city still carries the imprint of fear, a reminder of the unseen dangers that once roamed its highways. The enduring mystery of the Freeway Phantom lies in its perfect anonymity. Unlike other serial killers whose identities and motives became public knowledge, the Phantom vanished into the urban landscape, leaving nothing but memories, grief, and unanswered questions. Some speculate he died without being caught. Others believe he moved out of the city, his crimes unlinked, his signature pattern unrecognized elsewhere. Yet the core horror remains. The knowledge that someone could strike with such precision and vanish without consequence is a chilling reminder of the fragility of safety in the world. Today, the victims' names, Carol Spinks, Darlenia Johnson, Brenda Crockett, Nenomosha Yates, Brenda Woodard, Diane Williams, are etched into the history of Washington, D.C., and serve as an eternal testament to lives stolen too soon. Cold case investigators, true crime historians, and families continue to seek justice, hoping that advances in technology or the memory of a forgotten witness might one day unravel the truth. But for now, the Freeway Phantom remains an enigma, a specter haunting the highways, and a warning that evil can sometimes walk silently among us, invisible until it's too late. The highways are quiet now. The city has changed. But for those who remember the terror of 1971 and 1972, the name Freeway Phantom conjures more than just memory. It evokes fear, sorrow, and a reminder of the innocent lives that vanished, leaving a haunting void that no amount of time can fully heal. And so, the story remains unfinished, a shadow in the heart of the capital, waiting for answers that may never come.